Good morning, children. Once again, I welcome you in history class. And today we are going to start chapter 10, the protest movement, which had taken place especially in America in the southern parts. And in this chapter, we are going to also see that how the slavery was in practice in the southern areas by the white people, and in what way in the Asian and African countries they raise their voice to get some kinds of rights. So basically today what we are going to study about in the protest movement, basically about the discrimination, differences between the black and white people, and basically to get education and the voting right. So let's start our chapter today. In this, we have to see that though after the Second World War, America got so much popularity because it introduced Truman Doctrine and Marshall Plan against the communism, and it also helped the countries to get freedom. So when one side already there was so much popularity, progress in America, and America became a great big power in the world. It had its own place. On the other side, the problem was also started in American society, basically, as I told you, in the southern parts where differences were there between the black people and the white people. So today we have to study what type of differences were there. So here I have already written in the southern state, slavery was followed by the white people. So what had happened? Very soon NAACP organization was formed to protect the rights of the black people. Right? Why? Because this NAACP, National African for the People of Advancement of Colored People, right? So this NAACP kind of a form or a committee was formed by American government to protect the rights of the black people. Why? Because there was so much discrimination in the society. For example, the black people were having different kinds of school. Their children used to go to different school which were away from the area of the white people. They were not allowed to study together. They were not allowed to enter in the public places, either the markets or the restaurants or the railway coaches. Moreover, they were ill paid jobs. They were not appointed on good jobs, so they were getting very less salary or wages. Moreover, they were deprived from the voting right because they were not considered as citizen. So no voting right was given. So a kind of a campaign was started in America for the protection of the rights of the black people, to provide them voting right, to provide good education to the children. So in this way, this NAACP organization was formed. So basically is this National African for the Advancement of the Colored People. And the colored people, here we are talking about the black people who were not given freedoms, who were not given their rights, right? So basically, Truman, the President Truman in 1946 set up a committee to investigate why these black people have been not given any kind of rights, or why there is so much differences in the society. So when this committee was formed, so they gave some kind of recommendations. What kind of recommendations? That civil rights acts were passed. So in 1957, what Civil Rights Act was passed. According to that, this committee was given charge to investigate that what were the causes, why there is so much differences between the black and the white people. Then in 1960, another Civil Rights Act was passed. According to this, the provision was granted to give them a voting right. Moreover, some politicians says in America that it is a waste of time to pay attention, too much attention towards the black people. It is not good to appoint them in a good job. It is not good to set up a separate, allow them to give equal rights in the society. So these kind of recommendations which were given by the committee set up by the Truman, they brought some kind of results. And what were the results? If you see, you can imagine that the results came out that in many, we can say that Asian and African countries, kind of awareness about their freedoms, about their rights came up. Moreover, many new laws were introduced to protect the rights of the black people. Moreover, kind of a difference which was followed up by the white people, it was also removed. The vice versa, we can say the system was followed in where or in which places in the schools, that black people children were allowed to study in the white people school, and vice versa, they can also come this side. Moreover, the voting right was given, and the people were allowed, they can visit the public places. So whatever restrictions were imposed on the black people, it was tried by Truman, President Truman, to remove by setting up their committee. But what had happened later, Dr. Martin Luther King, there is a name in the history, Dr. Martin Luther King, he was the very dynamic leader, very far-sighted person who was a leader of the non-violent, I have written here, he was the leader of the non-violent civil rights movement. Are you getting it? Non-violent civil rights movements means he did not want to apply or preach about the ideas of violent activities. Rather, it was a complete civil disobedience movement, right? Through peaceful methods, he wanted to help the black people, to provide them, or to just allow them to live their life in the society, not on the basis of differences, but according to their own identity. So this Dr. Martin Luther King also started one kind of a march in Washington. So this was the march specifically for the rights of the people. It was a peaceful march, like Gandhiji started Dandi March, peaceful march. So, similarly, Dr. Martin Luther also started a march, and this was basically based on the non-violent activities. It was basically for the civil rights for freedom. And moreover, here a name has come here, Rosa Mark. She was the leader of feminine group. So not only Martin Luther supporters came up, but the African females also came up, and they also formed the feminine civil rights groups. So here we can say that if you see in the southern areas in the black people community, not only the males but the females also come. And there was an incident about Rose Mira, and this lady, she was traveling in the Montgomery bus, and she sat basically intentionally on that particular seat which was reserved for the white people. And this was the main, we can say, beginning for direct hit by the females against the white people. And when she was just objected by the white people, rather she was punished also in the history says. So Dr. Martin Luther King just put up the ban on the traveling of the Montgomery buses. So this place was Montgomery place was in Alabama. So in Alabama also the problem started, means the people who became aware for their rights. Then in Washington the peaceful march was also started, and time to time many civil rights acts were passed, and it was basically the effort of Dr. Martin Luther that the black people should also be elected in the legislative body, right? So, though Dr. Martin Luther played an important role, and for this peace work, or to provide their rights to the black people, he was awarded the Nobel Prize for Peace also. But somehow, tragically, he was assassinated by his rival, one of the white people. So here it says the role of Dr. Martin Luther was, we can say, very important, especially in the history of um, uh, protest movement for the rights, as many Asian and African countries got independence out of, we can say that Ghana was there. India is also got freedom from the white people, and they all were looking forward for their independence and for their rights. So after this, after Truman, many democratic presidents came up in USA, for example, Kennedy and Johnson, who worked for the Civil Rights Act. And in 1968, the Civil Rights Act was passed, in that it said it will become illegal if any person will follow discrimination in selling property or in letting accommodation. It was basically for the black people. And due to their effort, because Kennedy and Johnson had the soft corner for black people, they were elected to the Congress, to the Legislative Assembly, and to the other bodies also. So we can say the role which was started by Truman to protect black people from the white aggressions, or from the differences which they were facing. They were ill treated, they were humiliated at many places by the white people, especially in Southern America, where the slavery was very popular, because these white people used to make them slave. And in this way, the protest movement was successful, and up to certain limitations, the black people got freedom. Not only freedom, but they were freed from slavery, they were given voting rights, and they were also given freedom for education. Their children were allowed to go to the same school and to get education, and it was decided legally by the new laws. So the new laws which were set up by the Supreme Court and the American government, it was followed. So this was the topic, first topic. Tomorrow I will take the next topic related to the same topic about the protest movement. And in this we had also seen the females were also not letting behind, and they also formed their feminine civil rights groups to fight for their rights. So that's all for today. Just be safe and study hard.